Hey, bonjour, what's happening? This is Kirby Jambon. Welcome. This is a little special video where I'm going to combine some interest between my two different YouTube channels. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kirby Jambon, French immersion teacher, Louisiana French, Louisiana French poet. And I also I have a big channel dealing with, I have 100 or so videos dealing with all those different topics: Louisiana French, French immersion, resources, poetry, Louisiana French culture, Cajun culture, Cajun Creole culture, all that kind of stuff. And I have, like I said, 100 or so videos on that channel. I've been doing that since the pandemic began last year. And just recently, since I'm in recovery from surgery, I'm also kind of in another little little quarantine, I guess. I decided to start another little channel, sideline channel, I called My Favorite Things, where I just discuss things not necessarily related to the other topics, but things that I enjoy in life. And so this video is in both of my YouTube channels that you're welcome to subscribe to if you haven't done so as well. Again, I'm not a professional videographer. I work as an elementary school teacher, adult French teacher classes, and a writer. And I'm not I don't have very good equipment. But I do these videos just to share what I know and to hear from your opinions and your needs, and to hear what you feel about the different topics that I discuss. If you hear a little sound here in the video here, that's my little puppy, Winnie. She's a little Maltipoo. She's right now chewing her toy. Oh, she heard her name, so she's looking at me. Yeah, Winnie. Yeah. No, she doesn't want to come right now. So today's topic, we're going to continue a topic of my favorite things, but it'll be related to my other YouTube channel, because today's topic, kind of interesting, is my favorite dictionary. Yes, perhaps you wasn't expecting that. Well, my favorite dictionary is a dictionary called the Dictionary of Louisiana French. It's because it's also my favorite variety of the language as well. And Dictionary of Louisiana French is spoken in Cajun, Creole, and American Indian communities. Was edited. The senior editor was Albert Valman, associate editor Kevin J. Rotet, and assistant editors Barry Jean Ancelet, Richard Guidry, Thomas Kingler, Amanda Lafleur, Tamara Lindner, Michael Picon, and Dominique Rion. And this is kind of like the ultimate source for the dialect, the variety, the way we speak French here in Louisiana. Sometimes also called Cajun French, but there are folks who don't identify as Cajun who also speak this a very similar language, so we could call it Louisiana French these days. But I still use the term Cajun French because I'm a Cajun. But Louisiana French is a term we more often use these days. And this is the great dictionary. It's a dictionary. The way the dictionary works is the first section has all of the French words, and in it you're going to see the pronunciation. You're going to see an actual French phrase on how it's used. That's something, and they're going to tell you, they're going to cite it, that where they found it used in Louisiana. They use these little initials to describe where they found Louisiana. And then you'll see what the English translation or understanding is of that, and you'll see all the different variations in lots of detail. You'll see some different places where the expression or the word is used. Okay, so it's got a lot of information, and like you could, and of course there are going to be some words in here that's going to also be found in international French. It's just to show the French language as it's spoken here. For those of you unfamiliar with Louisiana French is a variety of French spoken in Louisiana. It has influences from the different immigrant French groups who have settled here in Louisiana. A lot of times, we hear popularized in the media Cajuns or Acadians. Cajun and Acadian, by the way, don't exactly mean the same thing. They have a relationship. I often talk about, people like to describe, what is Cajun, what is Creole, what do these things mean? And it's very complex, and you might have two different persons who might disagree with it. But this is what I accept today. It's definition. Back as my family for years and years, we either identified as either Cajun or Francais, which would translate in English as either Cajun or French. Other groups, other persons in Louisiana might have identified more as Acadien, others might identify more as Creole or Francais. You have all the different groups, Creole, Acadian. But there are actually 20 or so different groups of French immigrants who came to Louisiana who influenced our culture. The Acadians were one of them. To me, being Cajun doesn't necessarily mean being Acadian, although it does have a definite relationship for it. In fact, for me, I guess, using a global sense of the definition of the word Creole, Creole today it would probably mean, and actually probably meant that a long time ago as well, it meant someone native to Louisiana who used the French language. That was pretty much the big definition of Creole. Native Louisiana used the French language. So by that definition, all Cajuns are Creoles, even though there may be many Cajuns who never use the term Creole. Creole applied to other different groups. So in that global sense, I'm a Creole. More specifically, I identify as Cajun or Cajun. I prefer using the French term Cajun, and not Cajun, but Cajun. And Cajun has the same similar origin to Acadien or Acadien or Acajun in Nova Scotia. And for me, and Cajun is simply a Creole, a native Louisiana French speaker, or a person of Louisiana French heritage, native, who has some kind of special relationship with the Acadians. For whatever reason, the Acadians mean something special. That to me is my definition. It might be a different definition. Like for me, for example, although Jambon is not an Acadian name, and the majority of my ancestors not be Acadian, but I do have 30 to 40% of my ancestors who would be considered Acadian, and the Acadian influence is evident, especially in in a lot of ways that I would say in the intangible ways. The tangible things don't always seem that way, you know. I mean, our cuisine and our music are much more identified with like Caribbean Creole rather than perhaps Acadian. But there are intangible qualities which also reflect the Acadian, which means something to me. So I identify as both. So I'm a Cajun, I'm a Cajun, I'm a Creole, I'm a Franco-Louisianais, French Louisianian, whatever you want to say. Now, back to the dictionary. The dictionary of Louisiana French is this language that we speak, okay? And the language we speak in Louisiana is a variety of French. It's influenced by all these different influences. You're going to see some some things that are found very much word for word that you might find in Old Acadian French. Some things are pretty much the same as International French. About 70% or so or more of the language is pretty much the same as International French. But some things are found pretty much almost only in Louisiana, and as a result of the influence of the different cultures that came here. And of course, because for many years the language was oppressed in Louisiana, where, for example, my mother was punished and beaten for speaking the only language she understood, French, at school. So when that happens, the language has not able to develop a lot of the terms that would have come about through schooling in French. So either they had to create their own terms, or they got their terms from other languages, very often English, but not always. Sometimes they got terms from Native Americans, Spanish, German, there's all kinds of different terms. For example, you'll find words like the words for la grègue and mèche. Grègue is a coffee pot, and mèche is in some regions of the state, mèche means a marshland. And again, those words are not found in International French. They're not found in Acadian French, but they are found in Louisiana French. And so they have to come, and they might have come from some other language. I think I've heard stories that they do come from some German words this time. We have words that come from Spanish as well in certain regions. For example, in the region where I'm from, the word for a beach in International French, la plage, we call it la playa, which is related to the Spanish term la playa. We have words that come from Native American words. You have words like shupik and makshu and different words that come from, which are shupik, which is a fish, makshu, which is a corn dish, which come from Native American terms. And of course, we have a lot of English terms that come into the language. But there's a lot of English terms in International French as well. How do you say "have a nice weekend" in International French? Bon weekend. And you can say that in Louisiana French as well, but we probably more often would say bonne fin de semaine. Actually, have a nice end of the week. Have a good end of the week to say have a good weekend. So there are differences. So there are differences. There are differences in syntax and grammar, but that happens in varieties of languages throughout the world. There are differences from. The language spoken in the English language spoken in England would be different from the English language spoken in the southern part of the United States, might be different than English language that's spoken in Canada or Australia or different variety of different parts of the world. The same is with French. Now, the dictionary is again wonderful examples of the French language. As again, I told you, the first section has all of the Louisiana French terms. The last section lists the English terms. And now in the English terms, all you're going to see is a list pretty much of the words associated with that term. and it's listed alphabetically. So you want to make sure when you use the English section to refer back to the French section to see, make sure it's the exact word that you want. It's not a synonym that's just used, or it's not a word like, for example, we have words in English which mean more than one thing. You can have a nail. A nail could be a hammer, something you hammer with, or a nail could be on your finger or your toes. And those are two different words in French. Huh? So you want to make sure that you have the correct word that you need. Okay? So right now what we're going to do, that's wonderful, my favorite dictionary, Dictionary of Louisiana French. We're going to play the dictionary game. I play this with my students sometimes. We just turn page and we open and we talk about a word which is there. So here today we're going to talk about the words, chausson and chaussette. Chausson and chaussette. Now chaussette internationally is the word used for a sock. Okay? And it also can be used for a sock in Louisiana French, but it's typically used for a woman's sock, or a girl's sock or a child's sock would be called a chaussette. A man's sock, or a sock in general, would often be called a chausson. And chausson sometimes internationally might mean a slipper of some sort, but not in Louisiana French. Louisiana French, chausson and chaussette are both used for socks. It's kind of interesting that I point to that because we have two different words for socks, chausson and chaussette. And it's because I find it interesting because one of my things which kind of gets on my wife's nerves a little bit, but my students in my 5th grade class love it, is that I never wear matching socks. They always just try to guess which socks I'm wearing. And even today, nope, two different Festival International socks and Monopoly socks. Yeah. So I have two different socks on today. And so essentially we have two different words, chausson and chaussette. Okay. So let's do another little dictionary game and flip it, see what we'll come across, and see if something that'll be good to talk about today. Let's see. I'll flip it again, and we'll do another. Well, let's just go right here. Okay, let's see what we got here. Oh yeah. Let's talk about this word, pauvre. Say that, pauvre. Pauvre is the word we use for poor. Now, internationally, you might pronounce it more as pauvre or pauvre. But we would just pronounce it pauvre. And we use pauvre. We use pauvre in the sense that you have it in English as well. It can mean poor, or it can simply mean, when you have when you use it in the sense like a poor thing, like where you have pity on someone, So it can mean actually not having money or someone you might pity. And so in one of our, there's an expression we have in Louisiana French called pauvre comme un rat d'église, which means as poor as a church rat. Or a church mouse, probably in English we would use that expression. And an expression that I love a lot is the word pauvre bête. Pauvre bête. We use that as a try that. Pauvre bête. And pauvre bête means simply poor thing. And it literally might translate as poor beast, poor animal, poor silly person, poor stupid person, whatever. But it really just means poor thing. And you say pauvre bête. Oh, pauvre bête. I actually wrote lyrics to a song, pauvre bête. It's one of the few songs where I got together with a musician to write some music for it. We actually sung it with some of my students one time. It was pauvre bête, pas de croquette, pas de barouette, which means poor thing, no crackers, no wheelbarrow. Yeah, it's kind of silly. It comes from an old rhyme my mother used to tell me. All right, let's play the game again. Ready? Dictionary game in my favorite dictionary. We're going to turn here, and we have this word here. Let's see what we got here. Find something uniquely Louisiana for you. Rôder. Hey, rôder. Yeah, rôder. Rôder is a great Louisiana word. Rôder meaning to ride around, right? Rôder internationally might mean to prowl, but for us it just means to ride around, like with no aimlessly. When you would use it in English all the time, you would say, hey, where are y'all going? I said, we're just going to rôder. Going to rôder just meant we're going to ride around. You don't have a particular purpose of where you're going, And then another interesting thing in Louisiana French, which you have this thing where you can add at the end of a verb ailler, spelled A-I-L-L-E-R, and it actually amplifies the verb a little bit. For example, the word casser, to break. If you said casser and then you had cassailler, casser is to break. Cassailler would mean to break into a million pieces, kind of like that. So with rôder, it means to ride around. You go ride around your car or your horse and buggy, whatever you ride around in. But rôdailler would mean to run around, to gallivant, so it extends that, right? So it's a little bit more than just riding around, it's running around, it's gallivanting, so you have a rôdailler, so you have those terms there as well. So how about one more for today? Let's play one more in the dictionary game with my favorite dictionary. We're gonna do that right now, and here we go. Let's see. Ooh, yeah, I love this fricassee. Y'all know what a fricassee is? Yeah, a fricassee is a stew. Yeah, I love it. And fricassee. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because it has the word frit, which comes from the verb to fry, and then casse, which is broken. I'm not quite sure the origin of it, but fricassee is, you brown. You could have a fricassee where you can have like a. Just the other day, I went to my parents, and my nephew, my godchild, had made an fricassee de cochon, a pork fricassee with a stewed meat and a roux, and man, put over rice. That was for Easter, man. Well, I ate 2 bowls of that. That was delicious. So fricassee. So hopefully you can have a good fricassee, and hopefully you have a good day. And again, check out both of my YouTube channels, Kirby Jambon and Kirby Jambon My Favorite Things. And until next time, soignez-vous autres et soignez les autres. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and let's have a good day. Okay? Bye.